After the events of the last several hours, I need to cleanse my mind with some football talk. So let's do that, Broncos country. Should the Denver Broncos think about hiring Dennis Allen to their defensive staff? Allen was recently let go as the head coach of the New Orleans Saints, and he has significant history with this current Broncos coaching staff and with Sean Payton. I think that a reunion is almost inevitable. I don't think that Allen is necessarily going to be brought in terms of like a defensive coordinator role unless Vance Joseph leaves to be a head coach this coming season. And even if he does leave, I think that Jim Leonard is probably somebody who would be more in line to take over as DC rather than Dennis Allen. If you switch to Dennis Allen, then you're going to probably have to commit to a full-blown defensive scheme change because Dennis Allen more so runs a base 4-3, although in the NFL, nickel is really the base defense, but it's all about different fronts and different personnel groupings up front that would kind of make things a little bit difficult if the Broncos were to transition. This is mostly built to be an attacking 3-4 scheme, but that's not to say that Dennis Allen couldn't come in here and provide some sort of insight and knowledge because he is one of the brightest defensive minds in the NFL. I think that if he were to actually land a defensive coordinator spot somewhere, if someone were to go out and hire him, I actually think that it would be almost like Steve Spagnuolo in Kansas City, where he wouldn't be risked getting hired to for a head coaching job later on, because I just don't think that Dennis Allen's going to get another shot as a head coach. He's had 2 shots already, and both of them were failures. He failed as head coach of the Raiders, and he then failed as head coach of the Saints. Not all of that was his fault, but I do believe that Dennis Allen has some questions in terms of managing big personalities in a locker room and just being a leader when things go astray. We saw the Saints get out to a 2-game win streak. The injuries started to pile up and they lost 7 in a row, which led to Dennis Allen's ultimate firing. It kind of ended a very similar way for him in Oakland. I just don't think that Dennis Allen has the ability to rally the troops when things go astray. And I just think that he's better suited as a defensive coordinator, or in the case of the Denver Broncos, if they were to bring him in, maybe a senior defensive assistant role where he could provide insight in terms of personnel and somewhat scheme as well. But I think Dennis Allen, from a schematics perspective, is quite different from Vance Joseph. And even if Vance Joseph were to get hired elsewhere, I think Jim Leonard would stick to what has worked well for this Broncos defense and pretty much stick with the Vance Joseph scheme. So I do believe that Dennis Allen would differ somewhat there. But again, he could provide you some insight in terms of how to mix up your fronts, mix up your coverages, all that stuff. So Dennis Allen would be a very valuable hire for this team, I feel like. The question is, should the Broncos hire him this season, or does Dennis maybe want to decompress a little bit and maybe take some time to see if he wants to maybe see what's out there next year, or maybe try to get back into it right away? We've seen coaches, after they've been fired mid-season, go on with another team in the middle of the year. We've seen Robert Saleh be around the Green Bay Packers this year. We saw Hugh Jackson, after he got fired as head coach of the Cleveland Browns, go take an offensive assistant job with the Cincinnati Bengals that same season. So that has happened before. I do think that Sean Payton has kept in touch with Dennis Allen since he's been fired. And if Vance Joseph does get poached, I think that Sean Payton might want to at least have a conversation with Dennis Allen. I do think Jim Leonard is the guy long term that might be the Broncos defensive coordinator, but that's not to say that the Broncos couldn't bring Allen in. And Allen, again, has served as the Broncos defensive coordinator before, so he does have that familiarity with the city of Denver. He knows what Broncos country is all about. I would definitely consider it if I were Sean Payton and company. I know some people would be like, no more New Orleans Saints people, but Dennis Allen, I think, would be a valuable hire for this team who has an already good defense. Dennis Allen would maybe make it just a touch better. All right, Broncos country, I am curious, do you think that the team should consider bringing in Dennis Allen to some sort of role on this defensive coaching staff? Drop those comments down below, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts, as always. Be sure to leave a like on this video, as well as subscribe and ring the bell so these videos appear in your notification feed. And until next time, guys, I'm your host, Gage Madrid, saying peace out.